Oh, hey there, guys. Bipolar Barbie here with another awesome video, I hope. So if you like it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it, guys. Seriously. Now, I wanted to talk today about a really important topic. It's like a complaint that I get really often from a lot of people that have had some form of interaction with the borderline. And I wanted to, I guess, help borderlines understand possibly that this is why they're doing this. So what I want to talk about is this idea of borderlines and exaggerating. People always say to me that borderlines exaggerate their emotions, exaggerate things that may have happened to them. And it's true. From time to time, it definitely can happen. But I just want people out there to know that it's not a character flaw. It's actually a symptom of borderline. And we don't deliberately do it. It's something that a lot of us don't realize that we're actually doing. And we're not necessarily over-exaggerating coming from our point of view. It might seem that the punishment is disproportionate to the crime. And I think this really comes from a fact of like understanding a borderline and the intensity of emotions that they feel. And we feel really intense emotions, not because we're making them up, not because we're attention seeking, all of those sorts of accusations that people come up with. No, we actually really do feel these emotions. And a lot of us don't understand why we feel this such intensity of emotions. And where that actually comes from is this compounding trauma. People often forget the things that happened to them. They often forget what people said, but people will never ever forget the way that you made them feel. And the trouble is with the borderline and this form of compounding trauma is if you make a borderline feel a certain way, if you hurt a borderline and that triggers an emotional pain that they have felt their entire life, an emotional pain that started in childhood and has gotten more intense every single time someone has made them feel like that in their lifetime. So by the time you're triggering it at some point in the future, they are not just feeling the pain that your actions or your words may have caused, or that, the reasonable amount of emotion that you think someone should be showing. They're actually feeling every single time they felt like that compiled into one massive ball of emotion. And it can be so intense. And borderlines, I guess, before you kind of start your emotional journey and your healing journey, don't really understand necessarily where this is coming from. And I mean, I knew a lot of the time that, this emotion, really wasn't the correct maybe amount of emotion that I should have been feeling. But again, that is just really subjective. There is no right or wrong amount of emotion that you should be feeling to something. And when people say to me, oh, you just overreact, you just have these really intense, uncontrollable emotions. Yeah, that might be true, but I'm not deliberately having them. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on. And part of my recovery journey is learning how to recognize them, learning to sit with those emotions, because everyone wants to get rid of those crappy emotions. So that's where like a behavior will come in an attempt to get rid of those really intense emotions. So that's, I guess, where people come, with this like, oh, they're just over exaggerating. So I think like when you're feeling these really intense emotions, it's really like what we want is validation from our pain. We've basically been told our whole life that, our pain isn't real. And honestly, that just makes it worse. My psychiatrist says to me, when someone invalidates you, it's like I get the megaphone out. It's like I'm just going to get louder and louder and louder and more demanding until someone acknowledges my emotions. So the worst thing you can do to a borderline is tell them that they're not feeling the way that they're feeling, because I can guarantee they are actually feeling the way that they're telling you that they're feeling, regardless of whether you think they should be feeling that way or not. They are, and you should take them very seriously, because denying it is just going to escalate the situation. So that being said, when I feel these incredible emotions, it's human nature to understand the reason for these emotions, and it's also human nature to kind of relate them to something. So even inwardly, when I'm feeling a really intense emotion, I will imagine a scenario in my head that fits that emotion. When I am feeling incredibly overwhelming sadness or grief, and I'm not really sure what that is about, in my mind, I might be imagining, people that I care about dying. And I might be reliving these scenarios over and over again as a form of self-validation. And that's, I guess, what I do internally. And I think a lot of the time that can also sort of, progress to external exaggeration. But really what it is trying to justify the intensity of their emotions. And if someone is not recognizing the intensity of their emotions, then I think if someone feels like something really wrong has happened to them, if they feel abused, particularly with any form of psychological abuse, and people don't recognize that, well, I guess in an attempt to help people understand the intensity of their emotions, they can start to exaggerate a situation so that people would understand. Lots of people don't understand the way that my parents made me feel. And they're like, yeah, but seriously, they didn't rape you. So, just get over it. And it's kind of like, well, I feel like I was. Not particularly raped, but I mean, that pain and the way that it has affected my life is no less significant. But people don't often recognize the significance of the type of triggers and the pain that borderlines have had to face their entire life. Now, this is not an excuse for exaggeration. I'm just trying to explain where it comes from so that people can better understand that. And even, if you do have borderline personality disorder, so you can understand it better in yourself. And there are just people in this world that are not going to accept your emotions. And I think avoiding those people is probably the best thing you can do as a borderline. Some people are just not going to get it. And I know proving your worth to those people, proving that you are right, is kind of one thing that we are really attracted to. Especially if you have had that experience with your parents. As much as it's painful and it hurts, it's the only type of love we have ever known. Or this kind of association with unconditional love. So we kind of just look for it. We're attracted to it because it feels normal to us. That pain and distress and proving our worth and seeking validation is kind of this ultimate goal in a way for me to prove my family wrong. The trouble is dating men like my father and associating with people like that is just going to make it worse, because people like him are not going to accept that. Then they're exactly like him. He doesn't get it, and people like him are never going to get it. So yeah, guys, that's, I think, where this really does come from after speaking to a lot of doctors and therapists and a lot of people about it and doing some research. That is where it really comes from. It might seem like an exaggeration on the emotional side to you, but I can guarantee they really are feeling an intense amount of emotional pain that you would not believe would be humanly possible. And in an attempt to help people understand that, to explain the intensity of their emotions, because people won't recognize that based on maybe the facts of a situation, then in their own mind, they are definitely trying to justify those feelings with a scenario. And externally, they might do the same thing. So if you've had experiences with that, let me know in the comments below. If you've just realized that you've done that, again, I know people that have been hurt by borderlines, people have just been hurt in life, and it doesn't have to be someone with borderline personality disorder. We really just are misunderstood. And I think if people understood us, then, you know, we would have a lot more positive experiences with the world. And I think a lot of people would have a lot more positive experiences with us. So this is just one video. My next video that I'm going to upload is about this idea of sort of fabricating stories. So going into like that side of it, a little bit more accusations and how you can deal with them as a borderline and as someone who is interacting with a borderline. So I'll go into that. I hope this video is helpful. Please let me know. Love a thumbs up, and hopefully I've convinced you to subscribe to my channel. So hit that subscribe button, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching.